Hello, so in this video I'm just going to be going through the first episode of A-Level Economics Theme A, and we're going to be talking about the nature of economics. If you do like, just subscribe. So let's get straight into it. So economics is the study on how individuals, firms and governments make choices to allocate scarce resources between competing wants. So there's a limited amount of goods, and it studies how different firms and governments want to buy different stuff. There's scarcity because we don't have unlimited stuff. It's limited. So resources are finite. So like we have a limited amount of time, we have a limited amount of money, we have a limited amount of labor, and we have a limited amount of raw materials. So humans naturally have infinite wants. You guys want cars, houses, this and that. So humans have unlimited desires, and since resources are scarce, we don't know who to give these stuff to. So that's where you introduce this concept of money, in which if you want something, you pay for it. And the choice between resources are scarce. Choices must be made about what, how, and for whom to produce. So we've got opportunity cost. So this is a economics term that you should memorize off by heart. It's the cost of the next best alternative foregone when making a choice. So in simple terms, let's say you're in a shop and you have £1 and you will either buy a Coke or a Pepsi. If you buy the Coke, you can't buy the Pepsi. If you buy the Pepsi, you can't buy the Coke. It's the concept of so it's the loss. So when you buy the Coca-Cola, you lose out on getting the Pepsi. It's essentially the loss thing. Yeah. And for example, this is an example in real life, but this is more like big, like more money, not just like a quid. So if a government spends more on healthcare, let's say the taxpayer, they save money through taxes and then they spend money on healthcare, like the NHS. The next best alternative, so instead of spending that money on healthcare, they could have spent it on something like investment in education or infrastructure. So that's the concept of opportunity cost. Next up, we have known as the basic economic problem, what to produce. So in economics, there are problems such as what to produce, who to produce, and how to produce. This is a problem that occurs at all levels, such as individuals, so how to spend your time, businesses, so firms, so producing different types of goods, which ones to produce, which ones not to produce, and governments when it comes to getting taxes and spending those taxes. Very simple. So positive and normative. These are two definitions, and I'll explain the definitions right now. So positive is when you deal with objective, testable facts about the world. So when someone makes a positive statement, it's a testable statement, something that you can prove. It doesn't matter if the statement is true or false. So let's say cats drink 2 liters of water every day. Although this isn't a fact, it might not be true, you can still test it. So that's what makes it a positive statement. So for example, a rise in minimum wage increases costs for firms. We can prove this as we can just calculate how much money they spend on wages as a result of raising the minimum wage. And then we have normative. So this is when a statement it's basically the opposite of positive. It cannot be tested, and it's typically like an opinion. So for example, if I say cats are better than dogs, I can't actually prove that cats are better than dogs with like a science-based test, but it's a value judgment and it's my opinion. So next up, we've got types of economic agents. So these are the different people in the economy. This is just a short version. I think there's more later on. But we have consumers, so people who are trying to maximize utility. So what utility is it's basically satisfaction, so maximizing your satisfaction. So when you go to the shop and let's say there's a t-shirt for £10 and another one for £20, even though the £10 one is cheaper, you might buy the £20 one because it satisfies you more. It's just better quality or whatever. You like the color. So that's us as the consumers, me and you. And then we got producers. These are businesses. So in economics, we refer to businesses as firms. And the whole point of a business is to maximize profit. Very simple. And then we have governments. So the government wants to maximize welfare, the well-being of the society. So they do this by raising tax. They just tax people, and through taxes and income they can provide public goods, which is basically things for the public like education and healthcare. So that's the different types of economic agents: consumers, producers, and governments. Next up, we have models and theories. So in economics, I understand this is your first video and I'm not going to go through any models, but in economics, the whole point of using a model is to just simplify reality. The amount of numbers in real life that happens, like businesses, they use so many numbers. Economics just uses models to simplify the reality of what's going on in an economy. And in models, they typically rely on assumptions and focus on key variables. For example, the demand and supply of a model assumes all other factors remain constant, such as ceteris paribus. So let's say we make a model to calculate the effects of increasing taxes on government spending. So for example, taxes go up, government spending goes up, but it doesn't consider factors like people leaving the country, people not paying taxes, people doing tax avoidance, stuff like that. And then the whole reason why we use models in economics is to help predict outcomes, even though it may not be fully accurate in real life, because people, intuitions, and markets are complex. So the reality is very complex, but in economics we use models to make it simplified. So economics is a social science. You may have heard that term before. So it's not like your regular biology, chemistry. Economics is classed as a social science because it studies human behavior, so how consumers, firms, and governments act when it comes to resources. It uses scientific methods, so like hypothesis, data collecting, testing, and predictions. However, it deals with people who may act unpredictably. So like, let's say you go to a shop and you have one t-shirt worth £10 and another worth £11. Even though one is more expensive than the other and they are the exact same, humans just may make silly mistakes and accidentally buy the more expensive one. It's that simple. And I don't know who this guy is, but okay. So next up we got ceteris paribus. So ceteris paribus is a term in economics. It's basically a word in Latin that stands for all other things being equal. Basically just know ceteris paribus as constant. Okay, it means when analyzing one relationship between price and demand, we assume all other factors remain constant. So when we look at these models, we just assume ceteris paribus, which means constant. So when you look at models, ceteris paribus, basically the economy is constant. Alright, so that's the end of the video. I've attached a Google form, just 10 questions, just to test your memory. Please do them, you would benefit a lot, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.